A bunch of kids from my school have ties to proven child abusers, leaders of kids, years apart. And further, they have recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed collusions with the Ayala family. I never had a class with, I didn't even go to my grammar school, but my grammar school has rules with a former mayor Gold, with people on Griswold Street involved with federal evidences crimes with and predicate acts with former Mayor Gold in conjunctions to him and his family, also with Whiting Forensics and Joe Aiello, also with Facebook pages of New Britain Superior Court and Wethersfield Police, people involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids. Joe Aiello is one of the ones next to Hartford Hospital, involved with doctors and foreign and domestic military at Hartford Hospital, and people involved with home break-ins in my area, tied to a Joe Aiello. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal evidences crimes with them. And he demonstrated this was true on Facebook. Also, Ray Collo has syntax on Facebook with FBI Director Robert Luskin and with a Joshua Julian. Joshua Julian was also one of the ones on the Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature, involved with other natures of organized crimes with kids, with the Joshua Julian. And the FBI Director Robert Luskin has a bunch of people involved with them, also with people that are like the state comptroller. See, they made good people be evil by everyone's forced to speak through others, and they're putting fake transcripts. Wethersfield police have been forging and switching names through administrations that have been led by currently foreign influence, tactically delusions, wrought intelligence, as collusion/S. And while they're tactically delusions wrought too, but this would have been healed if you guys would follow mandated law. See, our leaders have delusions that are relative black peoples. That's why one of the reasons why it's mixed. They have criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quality aspects, and nature self-valued, right where no one self-values it too. So they're manifest their motives, how they don't want like such. Well, but that's manifest too, right where the breaching method needs that. So we're going to examine how the suburbs were designed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, with nature demonstrating that we are using systems tactical ulterior from its own that uses its identity of relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, where more positive also further positive onto itself is being made by the identity generating everything, or it forces our special difference as Earth's, but distinctly from Earth's, from here. That's the only reason it took so long, that we could get away so long with being used as systems tactical ulterior from its own, let alone self-valued roles right where no one self-values it, and or everyone's sensing for the breaching method. Everyone has self-valued roles replacing what James Madison said and or saying, communicated, or sensing for the breaching method. Anyone who brings it up or would have brought up how they've replaced what James Madison had declassified for us to understand and to appreciate why and how. For example, everyone's communicating about our founders plural, other than we were directed to. All the founders they're all forced to be founders because of James Madison's plan, and because of the plural founders behind him that we don't even know the names of, because they didn't have the security for that. We're supposed to understand why and how no one had free speech and everyone had to pretend other to an extent /S, or that body was sensed and it is adapted to, including if that body was a majority of people, including if it was everyone. So these people came through abridged campuses, like Trey Gowdy. And Fox News has a bunch of people with Russia next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut, involved with various natures of federal criminals since before they were caught, and their family members, their co-defendants, and their lawyers, including the lawyer of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants in a 2006 district court case. Right before that, and long-term before it, and since it, people next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut, have had collusion /S inter and intra cities, inter and intra campuses, and internationally with a whole bunch of other countries and the people interstates involved with the World Trade Center attack and internationally, but also per worse, using them grouped as actually how grouped. A whole bunch of people tied to a Scalora family have and have had collusions with Central Connecticut State University intelligence, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with families in my area, with the intelligence community, and police forging and switching names, enforcing sexual and medical abuses of kids and of elderly years apart. They even have sexual abuses of elderly homes. They have a sick torture method, extortion, in fact, cheaper nature slavery, therefore physical slavery method. And they keep all self-value rules right where no one self-values it, per being a torture, extortion, slavery method. Manifest the way it is with nature's demonstrations of it too. That the breaching method already shown all the identities, the suits, ties, the identities of integrity that they need to hide what nature demonstrates, and how they can get away with doing it because they need to hide it from the past, what is actually recorded values for actively and to come. They can't look on the future. So there are people from Russia and America who have intelligence agencies putting fake transcripts in databases. They have collusions with differences here and there, our own against our own, their own against their own. They are fake patriotism natures. To an extent, they are tactically delusions wrought and don't realize too. But that would be healed if you guys would follow mandated law for them. Follow mandated law. Don't change and fake what people say. Especially Whiting Forensics has digital crimes with people named Kalo and Scalora and Joshua Julie and a whole bunch of people from other areas like Oliveri have been planting predicate acts on my streets since they were kids, including a Bajerio family involved with a whole bunch of people in intercities next to the campuses, like next to Central Connecticut State University. A bunch of people with intelligence families have a subject Bajerio ties who have collusions with sexual and medical offenders on identity theft, fraud, slanders. These educators involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. I never had a class with subject Bajerio. He also made confessions tied to the people he was involved with a person who he was stealing a guy's speaker box. The guy he stole the speaker box from has collusions with victims advocates, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and with sexual and medical offenders of kids, identity thefts and frauds. I never had a word of conversation with that Joe. A Mark Violet and a Mike Violet tried to act to make it look like other. They were increasingly, they have roles of people on Elm Streets and Rocky Hill and Weathersfield with the same house, like named Cololo. Also has extended family members with the name Scalora and one named Phil Cololo. Phil Cololo was involved with predicate acts on my streets, and then non-verbally confirmed it after a Bob Chase confessed it. It was the only time I ever saw him on my street, and it was a non-verbal confirmation, also by a person a day or two before that, who had been repeating one of the names of one of the kids they're involved with the child abuses of, and he was like a Latino themed. I don't know what country or nationality he is, but he was trying to provoke me to attack him on a bicycle. You know, they do little things like that with the intelligence families involved, and how they get their intelligence families and their extended families and using confessions. You're making victims become victim predators, and they need to hide that. And you need to get them on paper, one name and sequence. I want a response for why everyone's having syntax. Increasingly, an Inspector Mike has roles with a whole bunch of fire department families too, involved with Russians. I don't know all their names. I know some of them are named Peruta, but Hartford Hospital has a Russian woman who then they said fell on her head. These are increasingly people involved with the World Trade Center attack too. And the same house /S with all kinds of identity theft, fraud, slanders. The experts on logic and reason are criminally foreign influenced and are tactically delusions raw. And they have been collusion /S with all natures of crime scenes. A bunch of people with predicate acts in my area, on all sides of my street, and on my street, like Eric Jensen, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Collusions also forced with the state police, forensics people with the same house. And his educators also have a Kelly Kazmarek involved with some CIA syntax and others involved with the co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, involved with the Kelly Kaczmarek. I never saw her in my life in person. Eric Jensen, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed she's involved with people who planted evidence on all sides of my schools too, and like a Sergeant Vigerio too. He has roles recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Like with the only syntax he ever had with me with confession, I didn't respond to it. And then like a year or two later, he asked me if I wanted to buy a Raiders jacket for $20. She's involved with worse than just fraud. And that also connects people who tried to sell me things. Are also people involved with proven child abusers, leaders of kids, and people with the Cub Scouts involved further. There's a South Pacifiello with Cub Scouts and his neighbors involved with some untimely deaths and wire crime acts and methods with intelligence agencies, and people with the Board of Education and the building next to it. Brian Bonin, I only know, sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm he has federal evidences, crimes, and wire crimes, and drugs and medicines crimes with the judicial branch offices. He didn't say that. Even with people all along Route 3, conjunctions to it and to that, like 2 Highway, are also people involved with the body dumping spots in the Board of Education, and a Maria Fazina, and a Steven Stockwell have wire crime acts and methods with the Weathersfield Police Department and their roles with the state judicial branch offices, conjunctions to it and to that. Collusions with the same house/yes near me, tied to them. I never seen them around each other. They've syntactically repeated that with a Mark Violet. A whole bunch of people tied to them next to the businesses and houses next to Hartford Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut are increasingly involved with predicate acts on my street in the parallel streets of people I never even had a word of conversation with. Every exception, they used criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions raw, and they know that's recorded, and there are means for all to discern it. And it's their roles with the names that were interstates, time collusions with the World Trade Center attack, names at it and next to it, and the differences of guilt. They had time collusions with Saudis before and after the World Trade Center attack. Some Mendes police have federal evidences, crimes, falsified police reports they forced Saudis to collusions with. And Saudis have confessed and recorded with others too. There are people who named DeMoro and Mendez involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, and with their educators involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with them, falsified police reports, wire crime acts methods, mail crimes. The DeMoro family and a bunch of people tied to them with home break-ins, all kinds of federal evidences, crimes, and collusions with all natures of crime scenes. John DeMoro and others have a bunch of people named, like there's a Mike Levine, also brought up by the confessions of one of the principal child abusers, tied to a John DeMoro, and their roles with the side entrance of what is now a Walmart, since it was a cow door, to that side entrance has roles with them with the Saudi attackers and the cover-ups, but per worse. They're keeping all signs, blaming other things, others themselves, or they are sensed and adapted to. These are also people intra-cities, on and off the colleges and universities, collusions with child campuses and with medical and fire campuses, with their families and overt criminal enterprises, all at the same time. The news needing to highlight progressions. WTNH has FBI involved with people named O'Neill with writing forensics, planting evidences next to campuses, fake ties to kids and to adults that they don't know at all, pretended, while the interbranch have been doing that. They've been using everything that comes before them to hide what their actually recorded value as nature, as criminal insidious nature, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. And we could heal their souls, their bodies and their souls, but you have to follow mandated law for them. And for Fox News, through administrations, they're searching for cover-ups. Oh, this is 8 years ago. Every year there rolls with predicate acts. Get them the heck on paper since the World Trade Center attack and before it. Fix the fake news. The news predicate acts. Fix them.